Right, right. I mean, the North Koreans, they love to fire off missiles or have their nuclear tests coincide with a significant anniversary. That's the way that they operate. So we could imagine that on the 10th, any minute, there might be some kind of missile fired. The Russians, we know that there was a Russian lawmaker who just came back from North Korea, and he reported that he was told there that the North Koreans were preparing a launch of a long-range missile which could reach the west coast of the United States. We don't know whether that preparation means that it's imminent or not. And then, as you mentioned, the Chinese Party Congress would be another opportunity. That's on October 18th. There is not a very good relationship between the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un. In fact, I would say that it's pretty bad. They have a lack of respect for one another. And of course, that's been exacerbated lately by the fact that the Chinese have jumped in with us under the context of UN sanctions, or under the umbrella of UN sanctions, on sanctioning energy and various other significant trade components with North Korea.
Let me ask you, I'm not sure if how easy or hard it is to compare, but I mean, the last time North Korea embarrassed so-called China, it was by firing off a missile during a BRICS summit, which China was hosting. This time around, though,
Right.
if they take the opportunity on, let's say, on or around the 18th, this is the, this is the Chinese Communist Party Congress.
Yeah.
What happens
Yeah.
then?
I mean, that would be really personal, and it would be a real escalation. So I would hope that they wouldn't do that, because again, I don't think it's in any country's interest. It's certainly not in the interest of the international community to have the tensions raised in this artificial fashion, because these are just posturings. Although, of course, every test that the North Koreans do does carry some risks, because they're flying over Japanese airspace, et cetera. So there are real risks. But the real problem is that all this posturing isn't doing anything to solve the problem. And every expert, whether you're an expert on North Korea — I've been following North Korea for 17 years, but also just as a general foreign policy expert, the solution to this is not military. And it's certainly not rhetorical posturing. There has to be real diplomacy. The pressure we're putting on North Korea hopefully will work. It will take some time. The unfortunate problem is that the North Korean leader seems to be really running at a breakneck speed to establish deterrence with us. And it may be in our interest to tell him, look, we're deterred. We're not going to change your regime. Let's sit down at the negotiating table.